All right, welcome back to Boring Land. Nick here.
I hate it when he goes first. Gabe.
Controversy. And we are super excited, as always, to give you our review for Lagaan. Lagaan is a movie about cricket. We were told that, hey, you check this out, you're going to know a lot more about cricket than you knew before. And definitely true. We don't know everything, but I definitely learned a lot about it. This movie, interestingly enough, I did do a little bit of research on this after I was finished watching because I was so excited about it. This movie, produced by Amir Khan. We were told that in the comment section. But this movie was showed to different audiences. This is not based on a true story, but it's showing us, a movie about how India got introduced to cricket one way or another. But there was the situation where Amir Khan's production company, they were showing this to an audience, I believe, in like Germany or something like that, somewhere in Europe. And the people were told it was a 3.5, 4-hour movie. Right. And so they bought tickets to the screening, and they were going to stay for about an hour, and then they were going to go do other things. I'm not sure why they would do that. Maybe they got free tickets. But they all ended up staying the entire time because they just loved the movie. Right. Standing ovation when it was over. And Amir Khan and his production company knew that even though it's not based on a true story, that telling a story in this kind of avenue with the spirit of the country and cricket, it was a good idea. So I thought that was really cool. This movie came out in 2001, so quite a while ago. Right. When we did the trailer, it looks like, America or a Hollywood studio definitely helped produce it or distribute it at least. Right. They distributed it, Columbia Pictures. But I didn't see really too much of a trace of a Hollywood Studios input in there. I saw an Indian film.
Well, I think my one complaint that I have about this movie, it's a great movie. I love it. Let me start by saying that. But I did see a little bit of the American influence in there because normally I've become accustomed to the theatricality and the song and dance and the big set pieces in Bollywood movies. But then what threw me off is that one of the characters in there that's non-Indian, Elizabeth, she has her own song in there, and it was almost like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? It wasn't like the Bollywood because it wasn't the whole thing, you know what I mean?
Her fantasy song?
Yeah, her fantasy song, and that kind of threw me off for a little bit. Okay, this doesn't fit. I felt like that was more like La La Land, you know what I mean? Where that's more
a
musical, exactly. So I was not a fan of that part there. But other than that, I did love this film.
I didn't think the song was very good, so I didn't care about that part in general. But I have no problem with that idea because you're looking at a film which is not just, only the Indian actors can sing. Anyone that's a character can have their own song. Right. To me, that wasn't my favorite song at all. Right. I really like this film as well. There's a lot we can talk about. It's a lengthy movie, obviously. But let me start off with just a basic premise for anyone that's not familiar. Basically, the British, they're owning India at this time. They control it. This is in the 1800s. Right. And I believe it's the 1800s.
1880 something. I can't remember.
And so they have this cantonment, they call it, where they're in charge of this province and all these different areas around, and they're already taxing the people. There's a drought going on, so not a lot of rain. They're farmers. They're paying in grain and whatnot. And this guy, Captain Russell, he's a punk, and he's talking to their king or their royalty, and he's saying, you guys gotta, first of all, he's offended because the king won't eat meat because the king's vegetarian. Right. So he said, no, you're gonna eat meat. And since he didn't get his way, he said, you know what, you guys need to be doubled your tax. And the guy's like, what? And so the people don't like it. And long story short, it comes to a situation where you have ego versus ego, and Captain Russell says, you know what? If you play us in a game of cricket, since you're making fun of our game because they were watching them play, what are you guys doing? If you beat us in our own game, then you will have 3 years of no taxes whatsoever. But if you lose, you have to pay triple the tax. And so that's the premise of the film. Right. Now, for me, it took me only about 10, 15 minutes before I really started to get into this movie. And usually with a lot of movies and a lot of Indian films, because of the language barrier, it takes me a little longer to get into it and to kind of enjoy myself. This one didn't take too long. I like period pieces. I liked the characters. I really liked Bhuvan's character played by Amir Khan, where the girl, Gauri, who is infatuated with him, she wants to marry him, she's waiting for him to ask her, and he doesn't really tell her whether he likes her or not, but what does he say? He's like, if my mom likes you, then, I'll marry anyone my mom likes.
Right.
And she's, well, maybe she doesn't like me. I really like that about his character, where he was about his family at heart, about his country at heart. And he wasn't just going around chasing girls or trying to impress girls. And I thought that was a really good character.
I mean, what can I say, man? Amir Khan, dude, again, he is a true artist. And I reserve that word for a select few, okay? He's a true artist.
He's very likable, too.
He's a likable guy. And again, when he tells a story, he's always very cautious not to always make himself the center of attention, even though he may be producing it, he's the main actor, everybody knows he's the headliner. But he gives the film room to breathe, and he tells other people's stories as well. And one of the things that he did in this movie was show you first and foremost how this British officer got himself into this. Because when we were watching the trailer, we were like, this doesn't, what do you mean? Why is this guy just all of a sudden making this deal of 3 years? That doesn't make it, that's a dumb deal. But you find out that the guy, first and foremost, earlier on, he was upset because Amir Khan was scaring away the animals that he was trying to hunt. And he's like, oh, you're the reason I missed 5 shots. So he makes sure he pays attention to detail.
Yeah, you're the reason.
Exactly. And then you find out that this is all on this guy. Because the one thing I was thinking to myself is, like, would the British government really do something like this? Okay, even if, and when we're talking about think about it, 3 years, like you said, 3 years of no taxes versus triple the tax. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. That's a dumb bet. Even if you win, fine, I won. But, if you lose, the stakes aren't really even. And then you find out that this guy went out on a limb and did it on his own. So now he's facing pressure to get this done because his superiors aren't happy.
Yeah, it wasn't that interesting how they're like, hey, if you lose, you're paying their tax for the 3 years.
Because we're going to get our money regardless.
Wow.
Exactly. So,
and they weren't having it.
I love the fact that they, they Amir Khan also told his story, the British officers, and I couldn't picture him at first. I'm like, man, I've seen this guy. He was annoying, but he was the right kind of annoying. He made you hate him. Some of the things he did during the game, and we'll get to that later, I love it. And I was like, wow, this guy is so shady. So, of course, I'm a fan then, right? But he is from, he's been in a lot of different American movies, but probably the most notable thing, I know he was in Arrow, the movie, the WB series, which is WB does a lot of the DC universe. He's in Green Arrow, and he was also in Blackout, which was like on Fox or something like that, when like the whole world goes off. He's one of the main characters in it as well. But man, I think that's what it was. But this guy, he does a great job making you hate him. But then you understand his perspective is all about pride, and he's really trying to enforce his will. And he's not just against the people in this province and the Indian people, but against his superiors, because he's looking at them like he said something to the effect of, these old fogies don't even know how to have fun. They don't know how to truly rule. So you see that
everything's business to them.
Yeah, he's battling everyone in this film, his own sister. So I really like the fact that Amir Khan took the time to tell his story as well.
Yeah, and like you said, the one word that describes Captain Russell is prideful. He gets himself in a lot of trouble because of his pride. He punishes the king because he won't eat his meat, right? He makes the stupid deal with the villagers because deep down, he knows he's better at this sport than they are because they've never played it before. Right. He so badly wants to embarrass them that he keeps raising the stakes. Okay, 1 year, no, 2 years, about 3 years of no tax. And Bhuvan's got some pride too, obviously, but this Captain Russell's out of control. Like you said, his own sister is willing to betray him and help out the villagers to learn how to play cricket. He did a great job of being annoying and being someone that I absolutely hate. I did not care about him at all. Like you said, you love the villains. But
he did his job.
It's all about, for me, the best thing about this film is the villagers, the different characters you have. In any film, it's all about the characters. It really is for me. How many characters you have? Are they all unique in their own way? Do I care about these characters? And some I didn't really. The guy Guran with the big old hairy beard and everything, and he drove me crazy. His acting was horrible in my opinion. I know he was playing the crazy person, but he took me out of the movie every single time he did something. He was too over the top. You might have a different opinion about him. I did not care about him, but mostly the other villagers I really, really cared about. Even Laga, who has that redemption story, the guy who betrays them or whatever. Right. This film, the screenwriters and the developers of this film did a great job of giving us different characters, because there's 11 players on each side.
Right.
So we had to have at least 11 different characters. and then you have the girls mixed in that aren't playing, but they are there. I really, really liked how they put this film together, and they gave us those characters, diverse characters.
Right, I disagree. I loved him, and I think that what he brought to the film was because he was crazy, all right, he was willing to say what everybody else wanted to say, but they were too afraid, okay? Even during the game when they're competing, everybody, the Indian players were kind of reserved, while he's like, okay, you white devils, I'm going to give you what you're going to get, and what he said, you're going to go back to your mother, and all the stuff he was saying was awesome.
I have no problem with hilarious. The line. He was over the top. But now that I think of it, I'm trying to think who he was. I think he's the same guy from you didn't see it, from SWATUS. He plays the postman who also does wrestling. Anyways, I think that's the same guy. Let me know if I'm correct in the comment section. But I couldn't stand that guy. I really thought it was cool how they had the one character who had the dead arm, and they realized that when he threw the cricket ball, it would spin.
Right.
That you have a guy in a different caste system, and they did say caste, so don't correct us on that one.
Yeah.
It's a different caste. The other players didn't want to play with him, didn't want to be around him because he was a different caste. He had a disability. But I liked how Bhuvan, being someone who looks more than just the outside appearance,
right,
such a great character. He sees this guy for what he is and how he's going to help the team,
right, because
he can throw that ball and it can spin a certain way. It's going to be really hard to hit. So I love the characters.
And he kind of, when he gives that speech, he kind of says, like, look, if we're looking at him because he's not from our cast, then, we're no better than the British that are, looking at us, looking down on us. Again, Amir Khan always, every film, there's a message there. So the social commentary in his films are amazing. I tell you what, this guy's got a lot of guts, because I'm guaranteeing you there are a lot of people that aren't happy with some of the things that he says and some of the messages he sends out there. And a lot of those people are probably a powerful elite, So, I'm glad that he did that. One of the things about this film, too, it was very, very interesting to me, the dynamic between the Elizabeth, the brother, like, would it have been enough for her just to try to go against her brother? You got that sibling rivalry. Because I'm like, why would she try to help them out? Yeah, it's unfair, but why would you go against her brother? And then you find out, oh no, she's smitten with Amir Khan's character, Bhuvan. And I can definitely see that, okay? She's very interested in him. So now she's like, okay, now not only am I going against my brother, who I'm the younger sister, so he's always trying to tell me what to do, but now I'm also interested in this guy. That's why I'm going to go ahead and help him. Because at first I wasn't buying that. Like, why would you go out of your way to try to help the local Indians here in this these farmers when it could be adverse? It could adversely impact your brother. But then you find out, it's because she's in love with Bhuvan.
I personally had a problem with that character and the actress. Not that I don't like the actress, but her portrayal. I really like this movie. Almost everything I really liked. I didn't like the Garan character I already mentioned. I did not like anything about the Elizabeth character. First of all, I didn't think she was a very good actress. Second of all, she is there living at this cantonment with her brother only because her brother is the captain.
Right.
And I'm not saying that she has to bow down to him because he has residence for her.
Right.
But she doesn't work there. She doesn't do anything. She just happens to be his sister. He's letting her stay there. And she betrays in the first chance she gets. I get he's probably really annoying, but she betrays in the first chance she gets. And then not just that, but there were some things about her character that were too convenient. She doesn't speak any of the language.
Right.
And then she goes back for one day, it seems like. Maybe it's been 2 days, comes back to help them learn the game of cricket. And she speaks 80% of the language. And she's like, I've been working on it with my guy right here. Okay, first of all, she's able to escape for hours at a time. The brother doesn't notice it. He doesn't notice that one of the servants, I'm assuming a servant, one of the workers is teaching her the language. For me, that was crazy. And then she could understand everything that was spoken. She could speak 80% of it. To me, that was way too convenient.
Right.
I did not like the character at all. I was not rooting for her to get with Bhuvan at all. I was so glad that the story went where it went, where he chose Gauri, that was his the entire time. When they did that whole sequence with her mad because she thinks that Bhuvan's going to pick Elizabeth, and then he comes to her and he says, my mom likes you or whatever,
right.
And they have like their little love song.
Right.
I thought that was like a whole fantasy sequence because we had Elizabeth's fantasy sequence. I thought this was her fantasy sequence. I was so glad and so happy watching this film to know that was actually a real part, that he chose her, because that made the most sense. And she was a beautiful actress anyways, so that hurts.
But again, I didn't mind the Elizabeth character's acting. What I minded was, again, the song. I did not like the song. I thought it was out of place. It wasn't very good. The No Tax song was better than that, and the Jealousy song was better than that. Exactly. That's what Lagaan means.
Know what Lagaan means. Yes.
Yeah,
I was like, what does this mean? Cricket? And then, oh no, it means tax.
But I think I see what you're saying. So she felt a little bit out of place in the movie, but I think that they needed to use it, because then realistically, how would these guys who've never played cricket? It's like you and I. Yeah, we play baseball. We can't step on a cricket field and just.
No, I have no problem with that. So, but how does she learn a language in 1 or 2 days? I mean, come on.
I know you've been working.
That so convenient.
Yeah, that takes a lot longer than that.
That really bugged me.
It takes a lot longer than that. I'll give you that. That was a plot hole. But I tell you what, man. The good parts about this film are, again, the character building. You get to see how at first he's out on an island, because the rest of these villagers, even though they're not thinking about 3 years of no paying tax, they're thinking about triple the tax. So everybody's mad at him, and he has to. It's not like everybody's gung-ho about it. They're all upset with him. People from other provinces come over to try to attack him. And you know what? He slowly but surely he goes ahead and builds his team. Again, he sees people who are not necessarily wouldn't be considered great athletes, like the guy from the caste system who had the disability, and said, no, he can still help. And one of the things that I really, really liked was that there was a sense of fair play outside of the two teams, because I thought for 1 second that the umpires were going to be, remember when the big strong guy throws the ball and he gets him out, but they're like, no ball because he went over. And I'm like, did he go over? I guess he did, or whatever. But then later on, it comes back to bite the British team,
yeah, it does.
right? So I was like, okay, there was a sense of fair play. And even how in Rocky, it almost reminded me of how in Rocky, when he goes to Russia, he starts turning the Russian crowd and they start chanting Rocky, Rocky when he's fighting Drago. Well, you know what? The British people were cheering for the Indian team. They're like, man, these guys are amazing. These guys don't know the game, and look at what they're doing. What play? So there was a sense of fair play, which really showed you that, hey, you know what? Ultimately, on the playing field, regardless whatever side you're on, people can respect the game. And I think that's that's what the spirit of the Olympics is. You know what I mean? The Olympics, regardless, there can be wars, there can be all kinds of things going on, but when it comes to Olympic time, people respect the Olympics, and we all are prideful of our nations when they go out and compete, and we can appreciate when other nations do something that's amazing. So again, this movie had a great message. Was it a perfect film? No. Again, you had a problem with Elizabeth, her acting, I should say. I had a problem with the song, so we kind of both felt that she was either miscast or misplaced in the movie.
Yeah, it didn't work for me at all, that whole character. And I don't really know what the alternative. I like what you said about how the fair play, because you're right. You had the British cheering for just great plays and great comebacks or whatever. And at first you're like, okay, well, that seems a little too convenient. But you got to remember, they're already annoyed with Captain Russell anyways, because this guy's being his own rogue person. It's almost like in a way that he's ticked them off. They're kind of rooting against him in a small way.
Right.
Like, either way, we're going to get our money.
Yeah,
this guy's going to pay
money
us.
regardless.
They were impressed that the villagers can play. But that's where this film really, really shines. I mean, the setup, the train, all that kind of stuff I can get into. I like a sports film, no problem. But when it gets to the 3 days of the actual game, that's where this movie really, really takes off. And in all sports films, I mean, let's face it, you're going to have this big obstacle to overcome, and it looks like they're not going to, and then somehow they're going to.
Right.
And very few films have the guts to not have them overcome, have them come short a little bit. Rocky won for one example. But this movie did a great job of still creating the stakes, raising the stakes, making it harder. When the British bat first and they score runs in the 300s or something like that. And, I mean, it's like, they had like a 200 runs before the first like 3 outs or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to have no chance. This is going to be crazy. They did a great job of telling that story throughout the game, For us, learning how to play the game, but watching it too, I really love the 3 days of the games.
It's funny because I was watching it with Savannah, and she did not have the benefit of having watched your video on cricket. So she's like,
oh, she's probably lost.
She's like, they scored 200 runs? Like, it's over. She's thinking in baseball terms, like, and she was upset because she was already invested in the movie. Like, she wants the Indian team to do
Takes her hat and throws it
they've
down.
given up 200 runs. So I'm like, well, that's average for, a cricket game, yes, it's a big score, but it's not something that's unsurmountable. Yeah. But I tell you, I missed the spoiler. Did you see the end coming? Because I was like, they're going to do the Rocky. And I was even giving Amir Khan more credit because I was like, he's the kind of director that has the guts to say, you know what? They don't win. And what I was expecting was for them to lose.
Not for the triple tax. I knew it wasn't going to happen. There's no way.
What I was expecting was for them to lose. And then since I saw the British colonels really appreciating the how well these guys had played, saying, you know what? Forget about the tax. We will still waive it because ultimately, what is it to them? You know what I mean? Like you said, they couldn't force the captain to pay it either way. So I thought that's what was going to happen because he hits it and you see him tracking the ball. That's a baseball term. He's tracking the ball. I see him cam thunder. I'm like, oh, he's going to catch it. And I had forgot about in cricket, they're in baseball, for instance, if I catch the ball, even if I'm outside of the boundary and I'm in foul territory, it's an out. There is no foul territory in cricket. So he catches it, but he even doesn't realize where he's at because he's outside the boundaries.
Well, you love him like, yes, I did it.
And all the people are looking at him. He's like, yeah.
Now, I will say, not to be a wise guy, as it was in the air and as he caught it, I thought to myself, okay, I know that these villagers are going to win. I just know it in my mind.
Right.
And so I'm thinking to myself, he's going to be out of bounds. Watch.
Did you? I forgot about the whole out of bounds thing. And again, I was just hoping that because of the kind of filmmaker Amir Khan is, that they would give us a story where, you know what? These guys, just to get to the point where they're 1 or 6 runs away from winning this game, it is amazing in and of itself. They don't have to win because in life sometimes we don't always win. So I thought he was going to do it, but it's okay the way they did it too at the end because it was a cool twist that he caught it and he himself forgot the rules of the game because he's out of bounds and everybody's looking at him because he's cheering. He caught it. 6 runs.
It's out of control. There was a lot about the game itself that I did not see coming. I did not see the best hitters going out as quickly as they did with, unfortunate gameplay. I did not, even when they had here's our top 6 guys. If we can score all the runs right here, we'll be good. We can't have these 3 guys. And then when it was down those 3 guys, they were still down 100 runs. I did not see, when the first of those 3 guys, it only lasted about 10 runs and they got out. I'm just like, man, this is getting worse and worse. How are they going to have a chance? And then the one guy that was nervous, who had gotten hit earlier, they were able to get the boy to run for him. I mean, there's so many aspects of this movie, but when the kid's running for him and the kid makes that mistake, I mean, he's a kid.
No,
right?
but again,
how many mistakes do you make as a kid?
But that's what we go back to. I love the fair play because the British could have easily said, the umpires could have said, no, nobody could run from him. But you know what? You guys hit him. He got injured on that, so we let him run from him.
But the fact that the kid makes that mistake and it's devastating, and Amir Khan's character Bhuvan knows this could be the entire game. He still gives him a hug. I mean, there's so many messages in this, but the main thing is you don't know where success is going to come from. It may not come from the people you think it is.
Right.
There's just so many messages here, but I love that whole rundown of who do we have left, who do we have left. I mean, even the guy I can't stand, Garan, I mean, he was crushing the ball, and Bhuvan kept saying, okay, you're doing good, but calm down. We can't try too hard and have it be an easy out, and that's how he got out. The pride factor, you look in Bhuvan's eyes, Amir Khan's eyes near the end there where you have the disabled character, and it's just the two of them, and he has to bat, and I was just like, this is so hard to watch. This is not going to end well, even though I thought they were going to win. They definitely raised the stakes excellently.
I will tell you this, though. Savannah was so upset when they beamed him, and she's like, "Why isn't he out the game?" Like in baseball, if you headhunting and you hit a guy in the head, you're out of there. You're gonna get kicked out of the game. He didn't get kicked out of the game or whatnot, and obviously he did it intentionally. But you know what? Even the like the way they got the kid out, and the way he let the ball go so that it was 2 runs. So Amir Khan's character had to switch places with the disabled guy.
Genius.
I mean, this guy was sly, but guess what? In sports, guys do whatever it takes to win. Especially when there's a lot at stake, they do whatever it takes to win.
And you can tell he was feeling the pressure near the end. I mean, he's like, let's go forward. Well, let's go back. Let's go forward. Dude, you got to throw it better. Come on, man. I mean, it was everybody's fault. And he had no problem gloating. I mean, he reminded me of myself sometimes when I played when I was a kid. And even now, I play to win. And sometimes, you got to get a little nasty to make sure you win without cheating. But I really, really like this movie. Also, as the beginning of cricket for us, this was a great film to be the beginning of cricket. There's so many parts, so many messages in here. Like you said, the fair play, that's a great message to pick up on. I didn't even pick up on that when I was watching it. But the characters themselves were awesome. Bhuvan scoring the millions of runs, that was great. And, everyone coming behind him. The whole village working together and sewing up pads for all the players. Right. And working together to create all the bats for all the players. They all have their bat, and each guy had their pride. But I really like the character Latka because of his redemption story. He's the guy that betrayed them at first. He was so jealous. And I didn't pick up why he was jealous at first. I thought he was just, an angry guy. But then you find out he has a crush on Guri, and she has eyes only for Amir Khan. So he figured if we dishonor him completely, she'll be mine, which we know as adults, and, we've fallen in love and we're married. We know when you fall in love with someone, that's not going to make a difference. You're still going to love that person.
Right. Exactly.
But when he was about to be killed by the whole village, when they found out that he betrayed him, who was there? Irony to help him out?
Amir Khan.
Yeah, Bhuvan there, and he didn't say we all forgive you or whatever. But he's like, you better play your best tomorrow, or I can't promise anything. I can't guarantee anything. And that guy went all out. I mean, he was diving. He was doing this or that. He got hit in the head like you were talking about when your wife was like, ouch. I mean, I love a good redemption story. I love when people get a second chance. And as nasty as he was, he put that passion, and he meant it when he said, I'm sorry, I will play my best tomorrow. I love that.
And come on, anyone who sits there and says, you haven't been that person, or you don't have that in you, you're not being honest with yourself. You're not being candid. We all have felt jealousy at some point. And, would we say that if we were in his shoes that we would not do the same thing? Okay, I can't say that because you don't know how much love he really had for this girl. You know what I mean? So I can understand his motivation, and that's what I love about Amir Khan. He remembers that the other characters have to have reasons, not just I betrayed you because I betrayed you. I'm Mr. Bad Guy. No, so I betrayed you because I wanted you to be embarrassed in front of the whole village. That way, Guri, who I'm also in love with, who only has loud eyes for you, will now be ashamed to be with you, and I have a chance with you. So I could buy his motivation there.
Well, 100%. How many times have you met people in high school you didn't like just because they had nicer clothes than you had, or because a girl looked at them a certain way that you liked that you've never even talked to? I mean, it's completely believable.
I mean, jealousy, envy, it's human nature. I mean, let's be real. So again, I like the fact that he gave him a real reason to behave the way he did. But I mean, I don't know. I don't want to give away the whole movie, guys. We did give away the end, but like we said in our reaction to the trailer, what are they gonna lose? Let's be honest.
This movie's 18 years old.
Exactly. But I'm ready for a grade. You ready for a grade?
Let's do it.
All right. I tell you what. I liked it as a sports movie. I love Amir Khan, the way he has a message in a lot of his movies and the social commentary he puts in movies. This guy, again, not one of my favorite Indian actors. He's one of my favorite actors, period. I put him up there with the Brad Pitts and the Leo DiCaprios of the world. The guys that I were like, every time they're on screen, I'm like, I could watch you in anything. You know what I mean? And the way he does such different films, from PK to Three Idiots to Lagaan, he is a true artist. So even though I hated Elizabeth's song, it was out of place. At least get somebody who can sing too. All right, give her some material to work with. But I'm gonna give this movie an A-. I'm gonna give it an A-.
That's respectable. There was someone I gave A- to hater, and there was someone else like, why do you hate this movie so much? I'm like, A- is an excellent grade. I really like this movie as well, a whole lot. You give me some character development, you give me good acting, and that's what, that's mostly all I need besides a few other elements. The story was here, the acting was here for the most part. That Goron character, the Elizabeth character, they kind of took me out of the movie the few times I saw them in there. But overall, great story with great character development, sports film. I'm sure if I watch this more and more, it would be like a Rudy type film where it gets higher and higher. But for me, I'm right with you, A minus as well. I I do think that because it is an older film, and it's crazy to think that 2001 is older, but because it is an older film, there's some elements to it, not a lot, that kind of bring that grade to an A minus. But again, an A minus is my third highest grade I give. That is a great grade. An A anything is awesome.
Absolutely.
We're always going to be honest here. Truly enjoy this movie a lot. We love the request. Thanks again. Our next film we'll have to, think about. We're not sure what we're going to be watching yet, but I'm sure it'll be a good one. That review will be coming out shortly. And if you like what you see here, consider being a Patreon and supporting us so that we can do the best job that we can. Like and subscribe. And until next time.
6 runs.